Depending on where you're watching this from in the world right now, the outbreak of COVID-19 might seem, well, pretty overwhelming right now, and I think that's just putting it mildly. The UK went into a third lockdown at the beginning of this month with the new variant that we have. My days have been exactly the same. I get up in the morning, ride the skateboard to the studio where I'm alone and I don't see anybody for the whole day, and then I go home, and then every other day I run. That's about it. But as we move into 2021, there is some optimism and the end is in sight. There's the rollout of the vaccines that are taking place. But I was curious about which countries have dealt with the pandemic best, because it's certainly not us. And at the top of that list is Taiwan, followed by New Zealand, Iceland, and then one of the countries that fascinates me the most in the world, and that's Singapore. If you want to know why I'm so intrigued with this city, just watch this video here. So as of recording this video, Singapore has had 58,865 reported cases and 29 deaths. And your initial thoughts might be, well, it's a small island state, they have a relatively small population, so that makes sense. But there's more to it than just that. And in this video, I'm going to take a look at how Singapore is managing to beat COVID-19. And it's because they've had this horrendous experience of dealing with this situation before.
Given the symptom of SARS, we feel that we should stay at home.
Okay, so we're going to jump back to 2003, and in 2003, Singapore was hit with the outbreak of the SARS epidemic. Singapore reported 238 cases of SARS and 33 deaths. And as a result of this, they introduced several stringent measures to control the spread of SARS. Compulsory quarantines for those that had the disease, closures of schools, and contact tracing for the people that had SARS. Any of this seeming familiar to you? So when COVID-19 was declared a global pandemic in 2020, Singapore was ready for what was to come. They had an advantage that the Western world did not have. They had been through a similar situation before. So Singapore closed its borders super early, and it was the first country in the world to introduce the COVID-19 contact tracing app. And this was back in March, right? The UK didn't release theirs until, I don't know, like August, September, and well, if you live here, you know how that went. It didn't go down well. So Singapore released theirs in March, and now over half the population have the app installed, and this year it's mandatory for everybody to have it. Or if you don't want the app on your phone, you can have this token, and it's essentially a battery and a Bluetooth sensor that does the exact same thing as the app. And privacy concerns have been a consistent criticism of Singapore's contact tracing app. A survey that was taken by the University of Singapore showed that 49% of people were okay with having their phones tracked during this lockdown period, but a big number of people also signed a petition saying that they shouldn't have to use the app or wear the contact tracing tokens. And quick measures were also taken by other countries that had also dealt with the SARS epidemic before. However, technology and contact tracing is just one part of the puzzle. No country that has effectively dealt with this pandemic has relied upon one measure alone. Controlling the virus is a mixture of getting a lot of things more or less right at the exact same time. Successfully snubbing out spikes and keeping cases low can be attributed to the previous epidemics that Singapore dealt with. But what you need to contain a virus to get it under control is the following things: having effective contact tracing, well-resourced healthcare systems and widespread testing, limited lockdown measures, and individual social responsibilities such as wearing masks and social distancing, and the high levels of compliance with quarantine restrictions put in by the government. And Singapore got many of these things right. They also have official information and stats displayed all around the city, displaying detailed information about testing and case numbers. And then masks were just made mandatory in Singapore from April. And as of recording this video, Singapore currently has 242 active cases, 58,865 all-time cases, and 29 deaths. And what I find interesting about those numbers is that the case numbers are pretty high, but the mortality rates are really low. And people are naturally questioning, well, what's up with that? And I found that this infectious disease specialist said that the population's average age had diluted the country's death rate, since most of Singapore's new cases were in young people. And the vast majority of Singapore's positive cases have come from its young migrant workers' dormitories. And there is a separate video here with the size of the dormitories. There was a concern over the human rights of the people living in these dormitories because they were so small, and the government have pledged that by the end of this year, each worker will have its own living quarters. But that's where a big percentage of the cases came from, and those workers were all relatively young. But as we move into 2021, Singapore has started to open large parts of society up. But whatever side of the debate you land on, you can't deny that Singapore seems to be kicking COVID-19's ass right now. I was recording this video, I went on Twitter and I saw this article. Singapore's COVID success isn't easily replicated. I think this is a good segue to the ending of our video. What they're essentially saying is, as great as Singapore's achievements over the situation with coronavirus have been, it's hard for other nations to replicate this same model. It requires an amount of state intervention and compliance that may be less feasible in other parts of the world. Like the slow U-turning actions that the UK government have been putting in place, everything that they have been doing has created a huge decline in public confidence, which already diminishes two factors that helped Singapore get through this, which is the individual social responsibility and high levels of compliance with the new guidelines. So I'd love to know what you think about this. Do you think Singapore's approach could work outside of their borders or not? And thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. If you're new around here, my name's Andy. I make videos about different topics that make me curious from different countries, continents, and communities and cities around the world. I realized that my past 3 videos have all been on the coronavirus. And hey, maybe let's try and mix it up and move away from that for the next one. If you've been around here for a while, apologies for not posting in the past few months. I've been really busy working on the next few episodes of Origins for Red Bull. They're looking great. Fantastic. I can't wait to share them and talk about them. Thanks for watching this video, liking, subscribing, all the things always helps. Appreciate it. Hate doing these outros. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.